Jerrod Carmichael claims Dave Chappelle confronted him. Ooh, this ought to be good. Jerrod Carmichael recently opened up to Esquire magazine about tensions with fellow comedian, the one and only Dave Chappelle. Carmichael, who is making the press rounds in support of his new HBO series, generated headlines in June 2022 when he criticized Chappelle, who had already been earning backlash for making jokes about the transgender community. What went down? Carmichael asked during a previous GQ magazine profile, Chappelle, do you know what comes up when you Google your name, bro? Referring to the comedian's comments about trans people. That's the legacy. Your legacy is a bunch of opinions on trans. It's an odd hill to die on. And it's like, hey, bro, are you? Who do you effing? Oh, no, who do you F? No, you see what he's asking here. What do you like to do? Childish jokes aside, who the blank are you? Carmichael added. It's just kind of played. But he's choosing to die on the hill. So, all right, let him. Again, that's GQ magazine, the interview.
With millions watching and many people benefiting from this program called Indisputable, we just need 1% of the viewers to become a paid member so we can continue to bring this content to you. Now back to the show.
In his new Esquire interview, Carmichael expanded on his thoughts about Chappelle. Carmichael, who came out as gay publicly in his April 2022 HBO special, Rothaniel, said Chappelle joked about the set and referred to it as the bravest special for 1996. And it's like, that's a funny enough line, whatever. But I wonder if he gets the irony that the fact that you are mocking it, even then, is why it was so hard, Carmichael said, adding that Chappelle apparently did not take the criticism about his legacy well. So here we go. Okay, one has the HBO special. The other, he's a powerhouse. So let's go further. He took it as F Dave Chappelle because he's an egomaniac, Carmichael continued. He wanted me to apologize to him publicly, or, well, I don't know, some S, clarifying his original criticisms. Carmichael told Esquire that Chappelle is not revealing anything personal about himself, and he's removed from what he's talking about. And I think he's smarter than that and deeper than that and has more interesting thoughts. Chappelle's been under fire over recent years for frequent comments regarding the transgender community, including in his 2021 Netflix special, The Closer. Controversial material incited Netflix employee walkouts and protests in solidarity with the LGBTQ plus community. Now, in Chappelle's follow-up, because there's always a sequel, right? There's always going to be one. The Dreamer, it's called. He spent 12 minutes of his new Netflix special, once again, telling jokes about transgender people. Chappelle opens the special by telling a story about visiting Jim Carrey while he was shooting the 1999 film Man on the Moon, where the actor famously went method on set while portraying comedian Andy Kaufman. Dave recalls being very disappointed that he spent the day speaking to Carrey pretending to be Kaufman, ending by saying, "That's how trans people make me feel." Variety with the reporting. To be honest with you, I've been trying to repair my relationship with transgender community because I don't want them to think that I don't like them. You know how I've been repairing it? I wrote a play. I did, because I know that gays love plays. It's a very sad play, but it's moving. It's about a Black transgender woman whose pronoun is sadly N. It's a tearjerker. At the end of the play, she dies of loneliness because white liberals don't know how to speak to her. It's sad, he joked. Later in the set, Chappelle joked that if he was ever jailed, he wanted it to be in California because he would tell the judge, "Before you sentence me, I want the court to know I identify as a woman. Send me to a woman's jail," and proceeded to use his size as a man to physically intimidate female prisoners. Newsweek with the reporting there. While Netflix's Ted Sarandos initially defended the comedian and his right to artistic freedom in a memo distributed among Netflix employees, he later said he screwed up in his reaction to the controversy. A picture of Sarandos and Chappelle smiling together is shown during the credits of The Dreamer. Now, so here we are again, Fran. Dave Chappelle, this time a fellow comedian, a Black comedian, an out comedian, taking aim, not backing down. And this saga is going to continue, it seems. Your initial reaction?
I mean, I think what's notable about this are two things. Number one, the fact that another comedian is actually calling out Dave Chappelle for things that ordinary folks have been doing for a long time, which is why are we on special 4 of this anti-trans rant? As a former fan of Dave Chappelle myself, and a comic, I am incredibly disappointed by this trajectory, and I think Jerrod Carmichael is 100% correct. The thing is, we don't always hear other comics with HBO specials who are like coming up and doing really well actually saying the truth, which is that Dave Chappelle's lost his way. So that to me is what's really notable about this. And then secondly, less notable but also important and very revelatory is that Dave Chappelle is incredibly sensitive. That he can't take that this younger comic who's got a special, who's got a show coming out, who's doing the rounds, is openly speaking about Dave Chappelle losing his way, and he wants him to publicly retract his remarks. He's that sensitive about it, and that's the thing more broadly about Dave Chappelle's sad descent into petty BS, in my opinion, is that he's constantly reacting, which is not unlike any other man with power who's terminally online and spends way too much time looking at what people have to say about his own thoughts. It's just he's reacting to random trolls, random Twitter people, random people, and instead of just sort of accepting the criticism or not accepting it and just moving on with his life and saying something else, Chappelle doubles, triples, quadruples, quintuples down, and Netflix makes tons of money in the process. Those are my thoughts here.
Yeah, so the offense is clear. There are people who are offended by it. The sensitivity piques my interest too, just like yours. I would have thought Chappelle is, while human, far out of reach from that. He's just doing his work. But it does seem like the doubling down and the dying on this hill, as Carmichael says, is a reaction. It's very much a reaction and perhaps a personal failure because I had dialed into the controversy. And I hate when people have to put themselves, kind of rewrite the script to include an offense to themselves to get it. But as I was reading some of The Dreamer, I began imagining that this was someone else delivering remarks about someone like me. I get it. I get it. And I think that comedians should be able to do and say what they want. I mean, I don't have to tell you, it's a special community, but not beyond reproach, right? Is what you're really saying. And it is stunning to me that here's Dave Chappelle, the king, but perhaps as you've noted, that's maybe, I don't know, maybe coming down. And you almost never hear fellow comedians, this community, you're part of it.
Yeah.
Go in.
There's definitely, it's not as intense as the cops, but there's like a little, I don't know what color line it is. There's a laugh line that you don't cross, which is, you don't really throw other comics under the bus, especially Chappelle, who's seen as the GOAT, but it's also part and parcel, Sharon, of like, people are moving on. Chappelle's not the GOAT anymore. Jerrod Carmichael's coming up. You know what I'm saying? Again, this is a guy who's 20 years younger than he is. He's 36. He's openly gay. He represents a younger generation too, and a younger generation that's not laughing at Chappelle's anti-trans jokes. As clever as they might be, they're not saying anything. Which ultimately, ultimately this whole thing is like, Chappelle, Dave, who hurt you? Who touched you? Who'd you sleep with? What happened? Because this whole thing just feels like he was deeply in love with someone who he found out was not the person he thought they were. Like that's all. You just keep making us wonder, what did this community do to you?
And I know we've got to get to the next segment, but I I'm watching the EP in the background saying, give her one more. She gets just one more question. With all that you said, do you think that this up and coming, talented HBO special on deck fellow comedian is being perhaps a little calculating and going after Chappelle? Or is it all from the heart? Doesn't matter.
I think that, I don't think it's calculated. If he wanted, he should not say anything at all. I think that that's usually how it goes in show business. You just, you smile, you get along, you get the next deal, it's all good. You pretend like you don't have critiques and you say nothing. So I think he is sticking his neck out, but it also just, again, goes to show the world is moving, the comedy world is moving on from the likes of Chappelle.
Wow.
And I guess he's pissed about it.
You just showed up very bold today. I just love it. I love having you on. We picked that lead story for a reason, timely, and there she is. So we started with that.